15-year-old Marcus Johnson boarded the crowded bus after a long day at high school. He was tired from basketball practice and his backpack full of homework felt extra heavy today. The afternoon sun streamed through the windows of the packed bus. Most people were looking at their phones or staring out the windows, lost in their own thoughts. Marcus spotted the last empty seat and quickly sat down. His legs ached from running drills at practice, and he was looking forward to resting. During the 30-minute ride home, he pulled out his earbuds and started scrolling through his music playlist when the bus stopped again. An elderly white woman with silver hair stepped onto the bus using a wooden cane. She moved slowly, and Marcus noticed her hands shaking slightly as she paid her fare. The bus driver called out, "All seats taken," before pulling back into traffic. The old woman grabbed the nearest pole to keep her balance as the bus jerked forward. Marcus watched as she struggled to stay standing while holding her small shopping bag and cane. No one else seemed to notice her or care. Without thinking twice, Marcus stood up. "Excuse me, ma'am," he said politely. "Would you like to sit here?" He gestured to his seat. The woman looked surprised. She studied Marcus's face for a moment before smiling. "That's very kind of you, young man," she said, her voice soft but clear. "Thank you." Marcus helped her settle into the seat. The woman placed her shopping bag on her lap and her cane between her knees. Marcus grabbed onto the overhead rail as the bus continued its journey. He noticed a few people glancing at him, some with approval, others with indifference. "What's your name?" the elderly woman asked, looking up at Marcus. "Marcus Johnson, ma'am," he replied with a smile. "My name is Eleanor Phillips," she said. "I don't usually take this bus, but my regular route is under construction." They chatted briefly about the weather in the neighborhood. Marcus mentioned he was heading home after basketball practice, and Mrs. Phillips told him she had just visited her doctor for a routine checkup. A few stops later, Mrs. Phillips prepared to exit the bus. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small notepad. Marcus watched curiously as she wrote something quickly, tore off the page, and folded it. "This is my stop," she said. As she rose with some difficulty, Marcus offered his hand for support. Just before stepping away, she pressed the folded note into his palm. "Thank you again, Marcus," she said with a mysterious smile. Then she turned and slowly made her way to the exit. Marcus stood there, confused, watching her descend carefully from the bus steps. He wanted to open the note right away but felt awkward doing so with people watching. He slipped it into his pocket, deciding to read it when he got home. 2 minutes later, as the bus turned a corner, curiosity got the better of him. Making sure no one was paying attention, Marcus pulled out the note and unfolded it. As he read, the few lines written in shaky handwriting, his eyes widened and his heart began to race. The note read, "Young man, your kindness moved me deeply. My late husband, William Phillips, was the founder of Phillips Educational Foundation. Please call this number if you're interested in applying for our full college scholarship program. Your simple act of kindness is exactly what we look for in recipients. Eleanor Phillips." Marcus read the note 3 times, not believing what he saw. A phone number was written at the bottom of the page. Could this be real? A full college scholarship from simply offering his seat? His family had been worried about how they would afford college with his mom's nursing assistant salary and his dad working 2 jobs. This could change everything. The bus continued its route as Marcus stood there, holding onto the rail with one hand and the life-changing note in the other. He carefully folded it and placed it securely in his wallet. His stop was coming up and he couldn't wait to get home and show his parents. As Marcus stepped off the bus and began the short walk to his apartment building, he thought about how a small act of kindness, something his parents had always taught him to do, might have just altered the course of his life. But was the note genuine, or was it too good to be true? Either way, Marcus knew this wasn't an ordinary day anymore, and he quickened his pace toward home. Marcus burst through the door of his family's small apartment, still clutching the note from Mrs. Phillips in his hand. His mother, Shanice, was in the kitchen preparing dinner, and his father, Terrell, was reviewing bills at the dining table. "Mom! Dad! Something crazy happened on the bus today," Marcus called out. dropping his backpack on the floor. His parents looked up, startled by his excitement. Marcus rarely came home this animated. He rushed to show them the note, his words tumbling out as he explained his encounter with the elderly woman. "Slow down, son," Terrell said, taking the note from Marcus. He read it carefully, his expression changing from curiosity to disbelief. Shanice moved behind him to read over his shoulder, her eyes growing wide. "Phillips Educational Foundation," she whispered. "I've heard of that. They give scholarships to deserving students, full rides to any college in the state." "Do you think it's real?" Marcus asked, watching his parents' faces closely. Terrell pulled out his phone and searched for the foundation. Within seconds, he found their official website. "William Phillips, here he is," he said, showing Marcus and Shanice a photo of a distinguished older man standing next to a much younger Eleanor Phillips. "That's her," Marcus exclaimed. "That's the lady from the bus." The family spent the evening researching the Phillips Educational Foundation. They learned that William Phillips had been a successful business owner who believed in giving back to the community. After his death 5 years ago, his widow Eleanor had continued his legacy through the foundation. It says here they award 10 full scholarships each year, Shanice read aloud. They look for students who show exceptional character and kindness. Marcus couldn't believe it. "But all I did was give up my seat." "Sometimes that's all it takes," his father said proudly. "A simple act of kindness can reveal a person's true character." After dinner, with his parents' encouragement, Marcus called the number on the note. His hands trembled as he dialed. After 3 rings, a professional-sounding woman answered. "Phillips, Educational Foundation, how may I help you?" "My name is Marcus Johnson," he said nervously. "Mrs. Eleanor Phillips gave me this number today. She said something about a scholarship?" There was a pause. "Ah, yes. Mrs. Phillips mentioned she might have found a potential candidate today. She was quite impressed by you, Mr. Johnson." The woman explained that Eleanor Phillips occasionally scouted for scholarship candidates herself, looking for young people who demonstrated kindness without expecting anything in return. Marcus had passed her impromptu test. "We'd like to invite you for an interview next week," the woman said. "Mrs. Phillips believes you're exactly the kind of student we want to support." After hanging up, Marcus sat in stunned silence. His mother hugged him tightly, tears in her eyes. His father clapped him on the shoulder, beaming with pride. "I always told you that character matters," Terrell said. "Now you see why." That night, Marcus could hardly sleep. The possibility of a full college scholarship seemed too good to be true. His family had always struggled financially, and college had seemed like a distant dream. Now, because of one small act of kindness, that dream was suddenly within reach. As Marcus finally drifted off to sleep, he thought about Mrs. Phillips and wondered what other surprises she might have in store for him. He couldn't wait for the interview, but a small part of him worried. What if he wasn't good enough? What if they changed their minds when they learned more about him? Still, hope burned brightly in his heart. Tomorrow he would tell his basketball coach and his best friend Jamal about what had happened. For now, he would dream of possibilities that had never seemed possible before. The news about Marcus's scholarship opportunity spread quickly through his high school. By lunchtime the next day, everyone seemed to know about it. His basketball teammates congratulated him, and even teachers who had never paid him much attention suddenly took interest in his future plans. "Man, you're so lucky," said Jamal as they sat together in the cafeteria. "One minute you're just giving up your seat, and the next minute you've got a full ride to college." "It's not guaranteed yet," Marcus reminded him. "I still have the interview next week." As they were talking, Dylan Walker approached their table. Dylan was one of the wealthiest students at school, the son of a prominent local businessman. He had never been friendly with Marcus before. "So I hear Mrs. Phillips chose you for her foundation scholarship," Dylan said, his tone slightly mocking. "Interesting choice." "What's that supposed to mean?" Marcus asked, immediately defensive. Dylan shrugged. "Just that my dad knows the Phillips family. They usually give those scholarships to students with more impressive backgrounds, but I guess everyone loves a charity case." He walked away before Marcus could respond. Jamal put a hand on Marcus's arm. Ignore him. He's just jealous. But Dylan's words stuck with Marcus throughout the day. By the time he got home, doubt had crept in. Maybe this was all a mistake. Maybe Mrs. Phillips would change her mind once she learned more about him. That evening, Marcus received an email from the foundation with details about his interview. Attached was a lengthy application form asking about his grades, extracurricular, activities, community service, and family background. Marcus stared at the form, feeling overwhelmed. His grades were good but not exceptional. He played basketball but wasn't the star of the team. He helped at his church sometimes but had never done formal community service. And his family background? Just hardworking parents struggling to make ends meet. "What's wrong?" his mother asked, noticing his expression as she passed by his room. Marcus showed her the application. "I don't think I'm what they're looking for," he admitted. Dylan Walker at school said they usually give these scholarships to students with impressive backgrounds. Shanice sat beside him on his bed. "Listen to me," she said firmly. "Mrs. Phillips chose you because of who you are, not because of what you've done or where you come from. Your kindness impressed her. That's what matters." Encouraged by his mother's words, Marcus began filling out the form honestly. He wrote about his love of mathematics, his dreams of becoming an engineer, and how he helped care for his younger sister Zoe after school while their parents worked. The next day at basketball practice, Coach Thompson pulled Marcus aside. "I heard about your scholarship opportunity," he said. "That's fantastic news." "Thanks, Coach," Marcus replied, still feeling uncertain. "I want you to know I'm happy to be a reference for you," Coach continued. "You may not be my highest scoring player, but you're one of the hardest workers I've ever coached. You're always the first to help teammates, always positive, never complaining. Those qualities matter more than points scored." Marcus felt a weight lift from his shoulders. Maybe he did deserve this chance after all. That weekend, he visited the library to research the Phillips Foundation more thoroughly. He learned that while some previous scholarship recipients had been academic stars or community leaders, others had been ordinary students recognized for their character and potential. By Monday, Marcus had completed his application. With his parents' help, he had presented himself honestly but confidently. Now all he could do was prepare for the interview and hope that Mrs. Phillips had seen something in him that was truly worthy of her foundation's support. As he walked to school that morning, Marcus spotted Mrs. Phillips across the street, watching him. When their eyes met, she smiled and nodded encouragingly before turning and walking away with her cane. The brief encounter left Marcus feeling both reassured and curious. There was more to this story than he understood, and he was determined to find out what it was. The day of Marcus's interview arrived, and his stomach felt like it was tied in knots. His mother had ironed his best button-down shirt, and his father had given him a tie to wear, a rare occasion in the Johnson household. "Remember, son," Terrell said as he straightened Marcus's tie, "just be yourself. That's who Mrs. Phillips saw on that bus, and that's who they want to meet today." The Phillips Foundation was housed in an elegant building downtown. Marcus had never been in such an impressive office before. The receptionist greeted him warmly and led him to a conference room where 3 people waited: a middle-aged man in a suit, a younger woman with glasses, and Mrs. Phillips herself. "Welcome, Marcus," Mrs. Phillips said, her eyes twinkling. "I'm so glad you could join us. This is Mr. Harrison, our foundation director, and Ms. Patel, our scholarship coordinator." The interview began with standard questions about Marcus's education and future plans. He spoke honestly about his dream of becoming an engineer and how his parents had always emphasized the importance of education despite their financial challenges. Then Mrs. Phillips asked a question that caught him off guard. "Tell us, Marcus, did you know who I was when you offered me your seat on the bus that day?" "No, ma'am," Marcus replied, confused. "I just saw someone who needed a seat more than I did." Mrs. Phillips smiled. "That's what I thought." She turned to her colleagues. "This young man had no idea who I was or what I might be able to do for him. His kindness was genuine." Mr. Harrison nodded approvingly, but then asked, Marcus, your academic record is solid but not exceptional. We typically fund students with stronger credentials. Why should we choose you over others with higher achievements? Marcus took a deep breath. Sir, I can't claim to be the smartest student or the best athlete, but I promise you this. I won't waste an opportunity. My parents taught me that hard work and treating people right are what really matter in life. If you give me this chance, I'll make the most of it. The interview continued for another 20 minutes before Ms. Patel escorted Marcus out. We'll be in touch within a week, she told him. As Marcus was leaving the building, he was surprised to find Mrs. Phillips waiting for him near the elevator. Come with me for a moment, Marcus, she said. There's something I want to show you. She led him to her private office, where a large portrait hung on the wall, a young black man in a graduation gown, smiling proudly. This was my stepson, Michael, Mrs. Phillips said softly. William's son from his first marriage. Michael died 15 years ago in a car accident, shortly after graduating from college. Marcus stared at the portrait, noticing the young man's kind eyes. You remind me of him, Mrs. Phillips continued. Not just your appearance, but your spirit. Michael was always looking out for others, just like you. She moved to her desk and picked up a framed photo of a younger version of herself standing next to a tall black man. William Phillips. My husband was a self-made man who faced many prejudices in his time, she explained. He started the foundation to help promising young people who might be overlooked by traditional scholarship programs. Marcus listened, beginning to understand. Is that why you were on that bus? To find someone like me? Mrs. Phillips smiled mysteriously. I take different bus routes several times a year, watching and waiting. Most people are too absorbed in their phones or thoughts to notice an old woman standing. You were different, Marcus. You noticed, and you acted without hesitation or expectation of reward. As Marcus left the building, he felt a new sense of purpose. This wasn't just about a scholarship anymore. It was about honoring the legacy of William Phillips and his son Michael. Whatever happened next, Marcus was determined to live up to the faith Mrs. Phillips had placed in him. 1 week after his interview, Marcus sat at the kitchen table doing homework when his phone rang. The display showed an unfamiliar number with the city's area code. His heart pounding, he answered. Hello, Marcus, said Ms. Patel's voice. I'm calling regarding your application to the Phillips Educational Foundation. Marcus gripped the phone, tightly trying to read her professional tone. Yes, ma'am? The committee has reviewed your application and interview carefully, she continued. We've also received excellent references from your basketball coach and your history teacher. Marcus held his breath, waiting for her next words. We would like to offer you the Phillips Foundation Scholarship, covering your full tuition and expenses at any state university of your choice. The words hit Marcus like a wave. Really? He managed to say, his voice cracking. You're choosing me? Yes, Marcus, Ms. Patel replied, a smile in her voice now. Mrs. Phillips was particularly impressed with you, and the rest of the committee agreed. This scholarship isn't just about academic achievements. It's about character and potential, and you've demonstrated both. After hanging up, Marcus ran to tell his parents, who were in the living room. Shanice burst into tears of joy, while Terrell embraced his son with more emotion than he'd shown in years. I'm so proud of you, his father said, his voice thick. So proud. News of Marcus's scholarship spread quickly through their neighborhood. That weekend, their small apartment filled with family, friends, and neighbors bringing dishes and congratulations. Even his basketball teammates and Coach Thompson stopped by to celebrate. During the celebration, Marcus received another surprise when Mrs. Phillips herself arrived, accompanied by her driver. I hope I'm not intruding, she said, when Marcus answered. The door. Not at all, Mrs. Phillips, he replied, inviting her in. Please meet my parents. Terrell and Shanice welcomed her warmly, thanking her for the opportunity she had given their son. As they talked, Marcus noticed how easily Mrs. Phillips fit into their gathering, chatting with his relatives and accepting a plate of his aunt's famous mac and cheese with genuine appreciation. Later, as the party continued around them, Mrs. Phillips took a moment alone with Marcus on the apartment's small balcony. Have you decided which university you'll attend? She asked. I'm thinking about State University, Marcus replied. They have a great engineering program. Mrs. Phillips nodded approvingly. An excellent choice. But remember, Marcus, this scholarship comes with responsibility. Not just to study hard and get good grades, but to continue being the young man who offered his seat to a stranger on the bus. I understand, Marcus said seriously. I won't let you down. I know you won't, she replied. And there's something else I want you to know. The foundation doesn't just provide tuition. We also offer mentoring, internships, and a network of support throughout your college years and beyond. As Mrs. Phillips prepared to leave, she handed Marcus an envelope. A small graduation gift, she explained. Open it when you're alone. That night, after everyone had gone and his parents had retired to bed, exhausted but happy, Marcus opened the envelope. Inside was a letter and a small key. The letter explained that the key belonged to a safe deposit box containing journals written by William Phillips and his son Michael. Mrs. Phillips wanted Marcus to read them during his college years to learn from their experiences and challenges. You're not just receiving a scholarship, she had written. You're becoming part of a legacy. Your kindness on that bus wasn't the end of a story. It was the beginning. Marcus held the key tightly in his palm, overwhelmed by the trust Mrs. Phillips had placed in him. Tomorrow he would need to start preparing for graduation and his future at State University. But tonight, he simply sat with the knowledge that his life had changed forever because of one small act of kindness, a single moment that had revealed the person he truly was. 3 months later, Marcus stood in his bedroom, looking at the stack of college brochures and orientation materials on his desk. State University's move-in day was just 2 weeks away. Everything was arranged, his scholarship paperwork completed, his dormitory assigned, his class schedule set. Yet a feeling of unease had been growing within him. Last week, he had run into Dylan Walker at the mall. Instead of his usual smirk, Dylan had approached with what seemed like genuine curiosity. Johnson, I heard you actually got that Phillips scholarship, he'd said. My dad was surprised. He said usually those go to students with more community service experience. I guess Mrs. Phillips saw something else in me, Marcus had replied. Dylan shrugged. Maybe. Or maybe they had a quota to fill this year. Anyway, good luck at State. My cousin goes there and says the engineering program is brutal. Half the freshmen drop out after the first semester. Those words had planted a seed of doubt that was now blooming into full-blown anxiety. What if he couldn't handle the coursework? What if he was only chosen because of his race, not his merit? What if he failed and wasted this incredible opportunity? Marcus, dinner's ready, his mother called from the kitchen, interrupting his thoughts. At dinner, his parents noticed his silence. What's on your mind, son? Terrell asked. You've been quiet lately. Marcus hesitated, then confessed his fears. What if I'm not good enough for this scholarship? What if I fail and embarrass all of you? His parents exchanged glances. Is this because of what that Walker boy said? Shanice asked gently. Marcus nodded. Partly. But also because I've been reading about the engineering program. It's really tough and I'm not some genius. Terrell put down his fork. Son, listen to me. Doubt is natural when you're facing something new and challenging, but don't let someone else's words determine your worth. Your father's right, Shanice added. Mrs. Phillips didn't choose you because she felt sorry for you or needed to fill a quota. She chose you because she saw your character. The next day, Marcus decided to visit the Phillips Foundation office downtown. He hadn't planned to talk to anyone, just wanted to remind himself of the place and what it represented. To his surprise, he ran into Ms. Patel in the lobby. Marcus, what brings you here today? She asked. Before he knew it, Marcus was in her office, confessing his doubts and fears about college and whether he truly deserved the scholarship. Ms. Patel listened carefully, then opened a file on her computer. Marcus, I want to show you something. These are the notes from our committee meeting when we discussed your application. She turned the screen toward him. Marcus saw comments like, shows exceptional empathy, strong work ethic noted by teachers, and potential to be a leader. The final note, in all capitals, read, Mrs. Phillips, this young man exemplifies the values of our foundation. Highly recommended. We didn't choose you to fill a quota, Ms. Patel said firmly. We chose you because we believe in you. As Marcus was leaving the building, he literally bumped into Mrs. Phillips in the hallway. Marcus! What a pleasant surprise, she exclaimed. Then, noticing his expression, Is everything all right? They sat in the building's courtyard, and Marcus shared his concerns about college and living up to expectations. Mrs. Phillips listened thoughtfully. Did I ever tell you about my husband William's first year of college? She asked. Marcus shook his head. He almost dropped out after the first semester, she revealed. He felt out of place, overwhelmed by the workload, convinced he wasn't smart enough. But he persevered and eventually graduated at the top of his class. She placed her hand gently on Marcus's arm. Feeling doubt doesn't mean you're not worthy, Marcus. It means you care deeply about succeeding. Use that feeling as motivation, not as an excuse to give up before you've even started. As Marcus rode the bus home, he thought about Mrs. Phillips's words and the faith she had placed in him. One stop before his, a pregnant woman boarded the crowded bus. Without hesitation, Marcus stood and offered his seat. The woman thanked him with a grateful smile. A familiar warmth spread through Marcus's chest, the simple satisfaction of helping someone in need. In that moment, he remembered why Mrs. Phillips had noticed him in the first place. It wasn't about being perfect or the most qualified. It was about who he was at his core, someone who noticed others and acted with kindness. That was something no one could take away from him, and it would serve him well no matter what challenges college might bring. 4 years later, Marcus Johnson stood on the stage of State University's graduation ceremony, preparing to deliver the student commencement address. In the audience, he could see his parents beaming with pride, his little sister Zoe recording everything on her phone, and Coach Thompson giving him a thumbs up. And in the front row, using a newer cane but still sitting straight and dignified, was Mrs. Eleanor Phillips. As Marcus adjusted the microphone, he reflected on his journey. Those 4 years hadn't been easy. The engineering program had indeed been challenging, pushing him to his limits many times. There had been late nights of studying, moments of frustration, and times when he questioned whether he belonged. But there had also been triumphs. Research projects that earned faculty recognition, internships at prestigious companies, and friendships that would last a lifetime. The Phillips Foundation had supported him through it all, not just financially, but with mentoring, networking opportunities, and unwavering belief in his potential. Distinguished guests, faculty, family, friends, and fellow graduates, Marcus began. 4 years ago, I stepped onto this campus feeling both excited and terrified. I wondered if I had what it took to succeed here. Today, I stand before you as living proof that sometimes the greatest limitations we face are the ones we place on ourselves. Marcus shared the story of his encounter with Mrs. Phillips on the bus, careful to highlight the lesson rather than to boast. That day taught me something I'll never forget. Our character is revealed in the small moments when we think no one is watching. The simple act of offering a seat to someone who needed it changed the course of my life. He spoke about the challenges he had faced in college and how he had overcome them with hard work, determination, and the support of others. He encouraged his fellow graduates to move forward with confidence, but never forget to look around and see who might need their help along the way. Success isn't measured just by what we achieve for ourselves, he concluded, but by how we lift others as we climb. Thank you, and congratulations to the class of 2029. The audience erupted in applause. As Marcus returned to his seat, the university president leaned over and whispered, "Powerful words, Mr. Johnson. Mrs. Phillips must be very proud." After the ceremony, during the reception, Marcus made his way through the crowd to find Mrs. Phillips. At 83, she moved more slowly now, but her eyes were as sharp and kind as ever. "Congratulations, Marcus," she said, embracing him. "That was a wonderful speech." "I couldn't have done any of this without you," he replied. Mrs. Phillips shook her head. "No, Marcus, I simply provided an opportunity. You did the work, you earned this success." She introduced him to a young woman standing beside her. This is my grandniece Jennifer. She'll be taking over more of the Foundation's daily operations soon. Jennifer smiled warmly. Marcus, we've heard so much about you. In fact, we have a proposal for you. Later that evening, as the Johnson family celebrated at their favorite restaurant, Marcus shared the news. The Phillips Foundation had offered him a position on their scholarship selection committee while he pursued his master's degree. They want me to help find the next generation of scholars, he explained, still amazed by the offer. Mrs. Phillips says my perspective would be valuable. His father clapped him on the shoulder. Son, I couldn't be prouder of the man you've become. As they finished their meal, Marcus noticed a teenage boy at a nearby table, wearing a fast food uniform and looking exhausted as he ate quickly, probably on a short dinner break from work. Something about the boy's determined expression reminded Marcus of himself 4 years ago. Excuse me for a minute, he told his family. Marcus approached the boy's table. Hi there, he said. I hope this isn't too strange, but I noticed your uniform. Do you work at Burger Barn on Western Avenue? The surprised boy nodded. Yes, sir. I'm the night shift manager. And you're still in high school? Marcus asked. Senior year, the boy confirmed. Trying to save for community college. Marcus pulled out a business card, his very first from the Phillips Foundation, and handed it to the boy. My name is Marcus Johnson. I work with a foundation that provides scholarships to students who show exceptional character. I'd like to tell you about it sometime if you're interested. The boy looked at the card in disbelief. Really? Why me? Marcus smiled, remembering his own disbelief 4 years earlier when he had read Mrs. Phillips's note on the bus. Let's just say I recognize determination when I see it, he replied. And sometimes opportunities come from unexpected places. As Marcus returned to his family's table, he caught Mrs. Phillips watching him from across the restaurant, a knowing smile on her face. Their eyes met briefly, and she gave him an approving nod. The circle was complete. What had begun with an act of kindness on a crowded bus had grown into something more powerful than Marcus could have imagined, a legacy of opportunity being passed forward, one life at a time.